Hey everyone, Andrea here. Welcome to Karchermakes. Today I'm excited to show you my finished Jethro cardigan, which is gloriously amazing. And I have some WIPs, lots of WIPs, and we're gonna open some advents. Let's get into it. So what do we want to do first? I think I want to open advents first. I've been chomping at the bit today to get to these. So before I open week 2 of my Freckled Yarns weekly DK weight sock set advent, which is all about the Dream Harbor series of books by Lori Gilmore, before we open this, I did not open the goodie bag last week, and I didn't realize that there were things in there that go with each sock set. So let me show you what I got for last week first. First up is this cute little Notions pouch, and this is from Shannon at Shannons Fun Bags. And it's these cute frogs with a rainbow, and in case you don't know, rainbow is my favorite color, and I just think that this is adorable. Well done, Shannon. And then the inside is this super bright green, which is also really fun. But look at these little frogs and rainbows. I love it. I really do. And then we also got a bookmark, because of course, what's a book club without a bookmark? And there that is. I think it's the same on both sides. It kind of looks like a ticket to the book club, the late night book club. So that's really fun. And then stitch markers, and there's stitch markers that go with each book each week. So last week it was the Pumpkin Spice Cafe book, and here's the little marker. Look at this little pumpkin spice latte, which I do love. I do love a good latte. So let's see what yarn we have for this week. And so the second book in the series is called The Cinnamon Bun Bookstore. You can see a picture of the cover there. So let's see what we have. Oh, it is so pretty. Look at these greens. Beautiful. Beautiful. And again, I got the DK weight sock sets, which do come with a mini. And yeah, this is just called week 2 of the series, The Cinnamon Bun Bookstore. And it's really pulling out the greens in that cover. And then the orange of the tree, which I think is perfect. Beautiful. And then as far as the charm, look how cute this is. It's a little cinnamon bun. Look at it. Look at that. This makes me want a cinnamon bun real bad. So here they are together. This was last week's, week 1. And then this is week 2. And I think that these are going to go together quite well. I'm already thinking about what I want to make with this, but I'm thinking I want to do a cardigan. And I had kind of floated the idea of the Comfort Fade Cardi by Andrea Mowry, but because this is DK weight, there's so many good DK weight cardigans out there. So we shall see. I'm not committing to anything until I see all the colors and then, get in the mood to actually cake these up and make something, which probably isn't going to be this month because I have a lot of WIPs and you're going to see them. But nice job. These are beautiful. And then for my daily advent, I have the woolen vinyl, which is all 80s music themed. And I'm going to insert some footage here of me opening each day so that you can experience that along with me, all the fun. Day 1, woolen vinyl. This is their Don't Forget About Me 80s themed advent. And let's see what we got for the first one. And I love it already. If this is any indication of how all 31 days are gonna be, I'm in love. This is day 1. And the colorway is called Physical. And I know you remember that song if you're a fan of 80s music. I'm not gonna sing these songs for y'all, so don't ask. Nobody wants that. I almost missed that we had a little goodie bag for today to open. Let's see what we got. So today's little goodie, stitch markers and their little boom boxes. How cute are these? I love them so much. Bravo. Perfect, on theme. I love them. Day 2. It's a very pretty, I'm gonna call this orchid. It's a pinky purple. And the colorway is Straight Up. Love Paula Abdul. I've seen her in concert, I don't even know, 4 times maybe? 5? Fantastic. Love it. Let's open day 3. Wool and vinyl is killing it with these colors this year. Look at this. Just fun and bright. Love it. And this one's called Girls Just Want to Have Fun. And it's true. We do just want to have fun. Day 4. Oh, it's so good. It is so good. And today's song is Wake Me Up Before You Go. It is beautiful. These bright neon peaches with all these colorful speckles. Oh, I'm so happy with this. Let's see what we have for day 5. Super, super vibrant pink. A dark, vibrant pink. And the song today is The Look. And I think that's, pretty sure that's by Roxette. I'm gonna have to look it up and correct if I'm wrong. Let's see what we have for day 6. Oh, it's so good. It is so good. And this song is Just Like Heaven. And it's just this really deep, pink leaning red. Beautiful. Love it. Okay, now that you've seen days 1 through 6, let's open day 7. Oh my gosh. These are so good, y'all. Look at day 7. This is heat of the moment. And I would love a sweater in this. This is amazing. This is beautiful. I love this advent so much. So let me show you kind of all 7 days together so we get to see the full week. It's kind of hard to hold these all together. I should string these up on a string like I did last year. But here they are. So we had this kind of pastel rainbow getting a little brighter, and then really, really vivid and vibrant. And I like that this is not a fade. It's not really a gradient, but the colors are really cohesive and I think they're gonna work together well. And I have no idea what I'm doing with this. I'm not even going to think about what I'm going to do with this until it's fully opened and, you know, I can marinate on it and find the perfect project for it. Do we want to talk about what I'm wearing now? My latest finished object, the Jethro sweater. This thing is amazing, and I'm gonna insert footage here of what it actually looks like on, and I am so happy with the fit of this cardigan. I was a little nervous because it is a drop shoulder, and sometimes, and I've mentioned this before in a couple other videos recently, but with drop shoulders, if the fit isn't like spot on, you get like a lot of like extra fabric here that on my body type, it's just not flattering. So I really like the fit. It is perfection. I love that I chose this gray color to kind of outline all of these beautiful hand-dyed yarns. And then the sleeves were also a yarn dyed by me, but I dyed it differently than I did the button band and hem color. I don't think it matters. Like, you can hardly tell. You can see a difference. There is a difference, but I don't think it really matters in the grand scheme of things. And all of the squares, there's 36 of them, are just various minis, leftover scraps. A lot of these came from Advents, and I picked out the purples, pinks, and orange colors just to have it be a little less scrappy and a little more kind of cohesive. And I think it works. So some of the dyers, and I don't know all of the dyers, it was a giant bin of scraps, but some of the dyers that I used in this were Fangirl Fibers, Teeny Button Studio, Frogget Yarns, Rising Tide Fiber Company, Woolen Vinyl, Dye Mad Yarns. The list probably goes on, and that is definitely not all inclusive. But I really love how this looks. I love the fact that it combines crochet and knitting. And if you are a knitter, or if you're even a crocheter, but if you're really a knitter who's never crocheted before and you want to kind of tip your toe into the crochet world, Tanis Lavelli's patterns are a good place to start. The pattern comes with really great instructions. There's a playlist video all about it, and I think it's a good kind of beginner pattern for somebody who wants to do something that includes both crochet and knitting together. So another little tip that I want to share with you guys about the ribbing on the arm. So what I chose to do was I wanted to incorporate more colors like into the sleeve, but at the same time I didn't want to deal with weaving in a million more ends. Look, each one of these squares is 5 colors. There was a lot of ends weaving in happening on this project, and I just could not be bothered to completely stripe the sleeves. But I wanted to add some fun little colors in, a little variety, a little pop of color. So I did stripe the cuffs. Now, here's a pro tip when you are striping with ribbing. And I'm going to actually show you on my sock here because this really kind of illustrates what I'm talking about. When you add a second color in ribbing and you just keep going with the ribbing, you get these little bumps at each kind of purl section. So the ribbing's knit 2, purl 2. When you're doing those purls, you get these little bumps on the front of, obviously because it's a purl, you get that on the front of the fabric, but it kind of breaks up the color, and you can really see that here where I added this pop of color to this sock, right? So now, if you don't like that and you want to avoid that, what you do, and I did it here, is you want to complete, so do your knit 2 purl 2s, and then when you add your second color, so like in this example I added this pink, do a complete knit round first, and then on the next round proceed with your ribbing. Because you're knitting instead of purling, those little pearl bumps don't show up on your initial color because, again, they don't exist. The pearl is on the back. So it really hides the fact that you've added that color. And even though you've interrupted the rib pattern, in this case, knit 2, purl 2, with a knit row, it's not enough that it breaks up the ribbing and it doesn't affect the stretch of the ribbing at all. So hopefully you guys can see what I'm referring to here. Here you can see the little pearl bumps, and here you can't because I just knitted first before returning back to the knit 2, purl 2. And maybe this becomes like a separate kind of video that I go a little bit more in depth to, but it's a really neat trick. I'm glad I found it, and it really does help when you're striping colors together to not have them be interrupted with those little bumps. So all in all, I really enjoyed making this cardigan, and you probably noticed there's no buttons on it yet because that's who I am as a person. I am button avoidant. I do need to pick some buttons out, and I'll be doing that. I still need to sew the buttons on my step-by-step cardigan too, so there's that. But it still needs some buttons, so it's not completely finished, but it's definitely wearable. Great fit, great pattern, highly recommend. And Tannis also has other patterns that have less squares if you're not up to making 36 squares. She has a whole series of these patterns, and some of them only use a couple squares. So again, really great pattern if you want to dip your toe into crochet. Okay, let's talk about all these WIPs I have going on now. And some of these I showed on WIP Wednesday, and one of them is brand new that you guys haven't seen yet. But let's just start with the socks first. So these are my Advent socks, Freckled Whimsy. I'm doing the DK weight version. I am doing 52 stitches over a size 2 needle, which I do think is going to give me a better fit for what I'm looking for. But look how beautiful these stripes are. And I am on day 7. I did finish that this morning while I was drinking my tea. These are turning out beautifully. I am knitting these in tandem, so both are done. A little cocoa with a gingerbread man in it. And these socks are really making me love the color green again. I do like green. I'm a green fan. I feel like green is a color that can work for any wearables for me, but look at these greens. It goes from this like deep kind of teal turquoise into these more saturated greens and then these more muted ones. And I just think these are stunningly beautiful. I feel like I need a green garment in my life now though. So I'm just slowly adding one stripe a day to these, as you do. And I usually do that while I'm drinking my tea each morning. Okay, next up, the Imagine Landscapes Gnome Along. I am all caught up on the knitting. I finished that yesterday, and then I ended up blocking it too because it had slip stitches in it that I just knit a little too tight. So I did take the time to block it when it's finished, and it's much better. But here it is. This is what we've made so far, and I was speculating on WIP Wednesday whether or not this would be a hat, and it is. And again, you can see here, if you saw that episode too, you'll know I mentioned messing this part up. So you were supposed to do another repeat of the gray and then another repeat of these slip stitches, and I missed that in the instructions, so it didn't happen, but it's okay. This is Nandad's Adventure by Sarah Shira, and he's just gonna have this cute little hat. It has these eye cords that have been knotted for the top, which I think is a fun little feature. And we're gonna see what comes next. So I already downloaded today's clue, and it's not a knitting clue today, but it's this cute coloring page, and it's just the fun knit for the season. I've also made some progress on my Claus Lane socks. This colorway is by the Sheepy Shire, and I chose to get it on this sparkle base. Sparkle never shows up on the camera as good as it looks in person, but I'm choosing to do these just vanilla. I pulled out some Stitch dictionaries the other evening and I went through them, and I was going to do a pattern sock, but this time of season, I don't know. I just wanted something vanilla that was easy to work on. Now, I do have, obviously, my Freckled Whimsy Advent socks that are vanilla too, but those kind of go fast. Like, that's maybe, for me, 15 minutes of knitting every morning, and that's for both socks. So I just wanted something a little mindless to kind of sit and be able to just power through. And I decided to just go with a vanilla pattern on this, and I think it does work well with this colorway. Anything that would have been more detailed would have gotten lost, and these greens and reds and pinks, and I don't know, I just like how it's pooling, and it's almost like tiny little micro stripes, which is also fun. So I'm not putting any pressure on myself to finish these socks anytime soon. Just when I have a minute, I sit down and I work on them a little bit, and we're just gonna keep on keeping on until those are done. Also gotten a little tiny bit done on my, what I'm calling the Pennsylvania hat, and this time the color is coming out much better. I'm sitting at a different angle to the open windows, so the lighting looks much better and you can actually see the pattern this time. So the yarn is Scout by Kelborn Woolens, and I believe the colorway is called Heathered Garnet. Don't quote me on that. I'd have to go look at the tag again. But in any case, this is yarn from a company that's out of Pennsylvania. The pattern that I'm using is called the Mount Airy Trail Hat, which is from a Pennsylvania designer, Jinx Made. And I love how it's turning out. Just a fun little textured hat. I went to one of the BF's cardiology appointments this past week, so I had some time to work on this while I was waiting for him to come out. And again, this has no deadline. I'm just working on it as time permits. Okay, we're gonna talk about the project that has me so excited to work on. I have to consciously force myself to put this down. It has been so fun, and I think it's coming out beautifully, and I already can't wait to wear it. So this is the Bubble Cardigan by Stephen West, and I'm using my 2024, I'll just grab one here, using my 2024 Frogget Yarns Advent, and the theme of this one last year was called Watercolor Winter, so it's very much a rainbow-ish kind of color order. It's sort of a fade. I would call it a fade, but the colors are amazing, and they're working up in this little bubble pattern so nicely. Now, when I showed this on WIP Wednesday, all I had done was the swatch, but I've managed to get through, I think I'm on color 8 or 9 right now. And I had a little moment of panic about this. So number one, you start with this I-cord cast on, which, you know, if you're familiar with Stephen West's work, the man loves a I-cord. Like, I don't, he's kind of obsessed with I-cords. So you start with this really long I-cord, which basically starts the back. And I don't want to give too much detail away because it is a paid pattern, but basically this runs across the back. And what I'm starting here is the right shoulder, and then this will become the front panel of the cardigan. So I had a little moment of panic while I was making this, and I was very early on down here. And as you can see, there's increases here. But when I was down here on like colors 2 and 3, I'm like, there's no way this is going to fit across the front of me. Like, this is way too small. Now, the feedback that I received on this by reading some of the pattern pages on Ravelry is, generally speaking, it runs very large. And I kind of talked about this on WIP Wednesday too, but it has a lot of positive ease as well. And I don't want something that's incredibly large with a lot of positive ease. I want it to be more close fitting, almost like, kind of like this cardigan. I like how this fits. So I was kind of using this as the template for the sizing on this. Now, again, when I was down here, I was panicking because I was like, look how small that is. Like, that barely covers like the front. And I was talking to Heather, who is Charm Knitty, one half of the Charm City Unicorns podcast here on YouTube. I was messaging with her, and she also said, like, girl, make a smaller size because that thing is huge. And I was like, I think I need to rip it out and make a bigger size because it looks tiny. I then went back through the pattern pages, and again, kudos to all of you people who put notes in your pattern project pages on Ravelry. I went back through there, and I ended up looking at some that kind of appeared to be the size that I was making. And I say appear to be because obviously you can't tell how large people are really in a picture, in a 2-dimensional picture. But I was literally going through and counting the number of bubbles that they had at the shoulder and then as it increased down. And all that to say, I'm going to stick with the size. I'm going to hope for the best. It does get significantly larger past that initial kind of back shoulder piece. So I'm hoping that this will be another great fitting cardigan because this yarn and this pattern together is beautiful. I love it. I cannot say enough good things about how this is working up. So my plan is to continue adding to this. I have some spare time later today that I'm definitely going to work probably solely on this for the rest of the day maybe, and get some more colors added to it. And I'm just excited to see it grow. Okay, so that is it as far as knitting and crochet, but I do have some spinning if you're interested. I finished my skein of yarn. So this fiber is from Sunset Fiber Company, and I have the second braid here that's going to go into whatever this yarn, whatever project this yarn becomes. We'll include this as well. But it's Shannons silk, and I feel like everybody's kind of familiar with Shannons at this point. It's no longer like super new, but basically it's a mix of Rambouillet and merino wools. And this is a solar flare, which is a one-of-a-kind braid that Sunset Fiber Co. does. And it's just this very sort of light blush pink, and it was kind of mottled. It was like the light pinks and then some whites together, and it just turned out so beautifully. I love this so much. Now, as I was spinning this, I was using a commercial DK weight yarn as my kind of sample, my control sample, and I was spinning this kind of thin, and I really thought that it was going to be too thin. I was going for a DK weight. I thought it was going to be too thin, but once I applied it, and then once I finished it, wet finished it, it really bloomed out. And when I measured this yesterday, I use a Grist Calculator. I'll leave a link to that below. I use a Grist Calculator, and this is spot on DK weight. It's like 245 yards here for 100 grams. So I actually did exactly what I wanted to. And with spinning, that doesn't always work for me. I'm very much kind of a vibe spinner, but I wanted this to be specific to a DK weight project. And somehow, some way, the stars aligned. My brain, my feet, my hands were all in perfect coordination, and it came out perfectly. So like I mentioned, I have this one here, also from Sunset Fiber Co. And again, this is another solar flare. So this is just one of their one-of-a-kind colors, but I think these two together are gonna be beautiful. And like a cowl, maybe a scarf, I don't know, whatever strikes me once I have the yarns done. We'll see what they knit up into at a later date. So I am participating in Jillian Moreno's 100-day stash down, which she talks about on her Patreon and in her Discord. And although I'm not able to actually actively spin every day, I am sort of embracing the spirit of stashing down, and I'm using what I have. I'm using what I already bought. I have so much fiber, I don't need to buy any more. End of statement, period. Again, even though I'm not going to be actually actively spinning every single day, I will be working from stash, thinking about spinning, and thinking about what to make out of these. But this is definitely going to be next on the wheel. So as far as life stuff, we've pretty much been home all week. Like I mentioned, the BF had some appointments and we went to those. And I did take some time to put up the Christmas tree. We're getting ready for Santa here. And this year I just decided to do our small tree. We have a small tree that's like one of those pencil trees. And then we have a giant 7-foot, like full, huge Christmas tree. And look, it's been a year. I've shared some of the trials and tribulations of 2025 with y'all on here. I didn't have it in me to put up the big tree, but I still wanted to be festive and I do enjoy Christmas. So I just put up the tiny tree this year and decorated the dining room. So we're all ready for Santa. And then last night we went to our sort of local Christmas parade. It's always fun to see all the floats and the cars and tractors. When you live in rural Pennsylvania, you get a lot of tractors in your parades. So if you're interested, I'll put some footage at the end there of the parade and all the fun stuff. And after the parade, though, we had a little snafu. I shared this on Instagram, and if you want to follow me there, I'm Karchermakes there as well. But we had a little snafu with my car after the parade. So, like I mentioned, we didn't go a lot of places this week, and when we did, we used the BF's truck to go. I have a hybrid car, and I haven't even had it 2 years yet. And I didn't know that you shouldn't leave a hybrid car sitting for extended periods of time when it's cold out because the battery will lose its charge. Didn't know. Now, it had enough charge to get us to the parade, but when we came back from the parade, the car was dead. And this car is fully electronic, like nothing is manual on it. And we had to Google how to open the door manually because, again, it's electronic. Even the door handles are like electronically based. We couldn't get into the car. We had to figure that out. And then just us trying to figure out how to jump the battery. Now, luckily, we live within walking distance. We could have just walked to the parade, but we didn't. So we walked home. We got the BF's truck. We came back to where the car was parked, and we followed the directions that came in the instruction manual. And if you need to know anything about me, I love instructions. I love guidelines. I love rules. I love standards. I like knowing what is expected and how to do things. This instruction manual quite frankly, sucks. We followed the directions, but what the instruction manual didn't tell us is that what we were doing was we were giving the car enough charge to open the door. We already had that covered with opening it manually. Thank you, YouTube, for giving us the instructions. So here we are. We're in this neighborhood, parked in front of these people's houses. And we are on YouTube trying to find out, like, well, how do we charge the battery? Because in the hood, under the hood, there was like it was called like the charging block or something. So we had everything hooked up to that, but the car still wasn't starting. It worked enough to basically turn some lights on, and that was it. So thanks to YouTube, we figured out that the actual battery, where you would put the jumper cables to juice the car back up, it's in the trunk. Now, again, everything I just said about electronic doors, electronic everything, the hatch does not have a manual kind of opening mechanism from the outside. So what I had to do was put the seat down, climb into the back, remove the carpet mat, remove it's like a little bin back there, so it has this like lid that goes on it. I had to remove all of that. And I had to do it because there's no scenario BF was fitting in the backseat of this car to do this. So we're digging back there, we pull that out, and then we find the actual battery. So at that point, we hooked up the cables, moved the truck. We got it started, but that was not what we expected to be doing at, 7:30 on a Saturday night in 25-degree weather. Luckily, learned a lot of things during that experience. And is it really a failure if you've learned something? I don't think so. So one of my plans today then is to drive my car around and make sure that the battery is charged up fully so that this doesn't happen again. So I hope you guys are having a fun, festive Advent knitting season if you celebrate. If you don't celebrate, I hope your knitting, crochet, spinning, weaving, whatever crafty thing you're up to is bringing you all the joy. So that's it for this week. I am planning to come back to you on Wednesday with hopefully some significant progress on all of these millions of WIPs that I have. But I'll be back on Wednesday, hopefully, to share those with you. And we can open up some more Advents this week. And until next time, happy making!